Hello, David Procter. Welcome to the
Good
podcast.
evening, Mark. Yep.
How are
First
you?
day of
How are you
spring,
doing, mate?
eh?
I know. Is it
Yeah.
today? Is
Yeah,
it?
really
Oh,
really
blimey.
feels like it now.
Oh God, I know. I was on bank the other day. I was on. I went out for the first time for a long time. And blimey, I was shivering all day.
Oh,
Absolutely
yeah,
freezing.
up on the top of the moors at Todmorden.
Yeah. There's a bit of tench fish, and I caught some, which was a bit surprising. But I was bloody freezing. So we're gonna have a little chat about things.
Yeah,
We obviously we do speak online quite a bit, and we both live in the northwest, and
yeah.
hopefully we'll be getting out fishing soon together because we've been promising to do it for a
Yeah,
while.
yeah, we keep saying we will, so
Yeah, we will definitely. But just so the sort of viewers know a little bit about you, and you can sort of expand on this. But you run I'm going to say a highly successful YouTube channel. You've just reached
highly successful. What? Yeah, I
a
wish that was
thousand
the case.
subscribers. Well, you've got the magic thousand, haven't you?
Yeah, but, oh, good heavens, it's taken me, it must be 4 years to do it. I must
Is
admit,
it?
the
Yeah.
first 18 months, I don't know whether the stuff I was putting out was just rubbish. Actually, it was when I look back on it.
Yeah,
And
I'm
I
sure.
thought, yeah, I'll do this, I'll do that, and show them how to tie this knot, and I'll get loads of sort of comments and loads of views, and it
Yeah.
just doesn't, it just never
It's
happened. I
strange,
think
isn't
it
it?
took me 18 months to get to 100,
Did
and
it?
then it sort
Wow.
of gathers a little bit of momentum. You sort
Yeah.
of get a better idea of what you're supposed to be doing, and
Yeah.
just improve your videos a little bit. And I think I'm quite satisfied with what I'm doing now. It's more or less what I wanted.
Absolutely.
Maybe some better camera equipment, higher definition stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm more tempted to go a bit more the way that you do, the sort of direct, sort of basic edit thing, because I'm just spending
Yeah.
way too long on them. I can't help
Yeah.
myself.
No. I know the feeling. I've spent literally all day editing in the past, and
Yeah,
I've now gone, "Oh, let's just cut it right down," and actually the subscriber count and the viewing count went up, and I thought, "Why
yeah,
am I wasting my
yeah,
time doing that?" I think simplicity is the key. It's each to their own, I suppose. But well done, 1,000
yeah.
subscribers.
Thanks. Yeah,
That's small
like I
means.
said, I mean, God, if you'd have asked me 12 months ago, I'd have just thought, well, it's never going to happen. I'm going to be
Yeah.
stuck at sort of 500, 600 for months and years. But
Yeah.
it does actually come. So anybody out there who's doing a little bit of YouTube fishing, stick
Yeah.
with it. You will start. The rolling stone gathers a little bit of moss. um,
Yeah, let's hope so, yeah. Yeah. Good
I,
stuff,
I
good
think,
so go on. Yeah.
to be honest, Mark, the satisfaction is getting the comments. Constructive, nice comments. I
Mm.
think the number of negative comments for everything I've done, I can count on one hand.
That's good,
It's
yeah.
it's really good how people get behind you.
It
I
is.
think a lot of it. I've got quite a high age demographic. I don't know about what.
Same,
Yeah, yeah.
same. Oh, we're all
Um,
old codgers.
so I'm wondering whether there's a lot of people that are now at a sort of age and physical condition where they can't get out anymore, and the nearest thing is watching YouTube videos, and they see another old bloke going fishing, and it's like they sort of sat at the side of you or stood at the side of you while you're fishing. And that's what
I
I'm trying to
echo
achieve. I'm trying to sort of talk to the audience as if they're there with me, and
yeah.
see what I'm
I think
seeing.
you're spot on.
There's
You're
the
spot
number of
on with
times
that.
over the years when I've had a really good day, and that doesn't necessarily mean a lot of fish. It can be,
Mm.
seeing an otter swimming past, or a fox climbing across a tree across the river or something like that,
Yeah.
or a particularly good fish, even a rainbow or something like that, and you're thinking, oh, these poor people that don't go fishing, they're missing all this. And you
Yeah,
actually
they are
feel
for sure.
sorry for people that have never been fishing or don't fish.
Yeah, and perhaps haven't seen a dawn as an early morning
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
bankside
Yeah,
session is
yeah,
magical, isn't magical? Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, any time of the
Yeah.
year, the dawn's just superb, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So I was gonna ask you, Sole Trader 57, that's what your channel's called, and I will put a link in the description. Where did
Well,
that name come from? I'm
I've actually
intrigued.
tweaked it over the years, and I think it's helped little bit. It's Soul Trader, wild fishing and music now.
Right,
Wild
because 'cause you're in music
fishing
as well?
because it's
Yeah.
extremely rare for me to fish for stockfish. Either the fly fishing, I very rarely go on like rainbow trout ponds or reservoirs stocked
Yeah.
with rainbows. I fish the little streams and rivers for the wild brown trout, and likewise with the coarse fishing, I think I can count on one hand the number of commercials I've been to in my whole life. So the
Yeah.
sort of stock, sort of match carp lakes and things like that have no interest for me whatsoever. I'd sooner struggle
No.
on a dirty old canal somewhere for, a bleak winter's
Yeah.
morning for a couple of little stunted roach.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's not for everybody commercial. I'm with you on
Yeah,
that one. And
fishing's no
it's
good if it's too easy.
true. True, it's not.
And I could open a can of worms here with the lure fishing craze that's sort of going on, and a lot of
Yeah.
people have put in the comments, "Oh, you want a little BFS lure setup and these little
Oh,
repellers and blah blah blah." I said, "Well, it's not. I don't want to catch more trout.
no.
If I wanted
No.
to catch a load of trout, I'd just put a worm on or a swim feeder full of maggots and
Yeah.
haul trout out all day." The fact is that
Yeah.
I like fishing for them on fly because it's difficult and challenging.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
sometimes it's almost easy, but usually, you've got to go a little struggle to find your fish.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I know you do a lot of these lovely sort of intimate waters, like you mentioned, these small streams and small rivers. But
Yeah,
this seems to be very popular on your channel. I mean,
good
it's
heavens,
it,
yeah,
it appeals
yeah.
to maybe like our childhood sort of old days, does it? You think?
I think it's something to
What's the
do with
appeal
that.
for you?
It's something to do with the small boy embedded in every
Yeah,
angle, and no matter how old you get, that refusal to grow up.
yeah,
And the small boy with the bent pin and the, the worm. I think there's a bit of that about it. I
yeah,
can't really say what it is. It's just I'm just happy that it it
yeah,
just so happens I've got some selection of very small rivers quite close by, and
yeah.
I like fishing them. I think
And yeah,
you
go,
probably feel
go.
like you've more of a chance of finding the fish if you're on a great wide sweeping bend of the River Ribble in January with a sort of
Mm.
east wind blowing down the river.
Yeah,
And the first thing, as soon as you look at the river, is, oh my God, where do I start?
yeah. It's
Um,
daunting.
where it's a little river, you've got the fish trapped there. They're right in front of you. You can't go very far. There's only so many deep holes. And
Yeah,
as long as you're very quiet and very stealthy and dressed in very subdued clothing and not necessarily camouflage gear. I don't
yeah.
spend any money on uh,
Well, Gary Williams loved camouflage. I have to mention that. No, he's got
he
a real
would, yeah.
downer on camo. I know. But yeah, camo. I have got some camo. Yeah, I won't reveal it in front of the camera, but
No, what I mean
yeah,
is you could get a drab green T-shirt
yeah,
from a charity shop for two
yeah,
quid, or you can get like what's that carp brand, a Corda sort of
yeah,
camo shirt for sort of 70 quid or whatever. It's your
yeah,
choice, isn't
yeah.
it?
Yeah, just embroider it on
Yeah.
or something. Oh, blimey, that's good. So, where did you start fishing then? Where are you sort of Chorley Leyland way? Is that where you kind of
No,
based?
I used to live
Where were you?
in a little town called West Horton,
All right, yeah,
down the
yeah,
motorway toward, well, it's more or less part of
near
Manchester
Wigan
now.
ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So West Horton was my original fishing ground, and there's not much there. There's
Yeah.
there was one little polluted old stream with nothing in it. It just sort of ran grey all the time, sometimes purple. There
Oh god,
was
yeah.
a few farmers' ponds, which I
Right.
must admit were a great sort of training ground. They just don't seem to be there anymore. There used to be a clay hole in the corner of every field. I think
Yeah.
usually where there were some trees, and I think the idea was the trees would keep the water cool, and it was a
Mm.
place for the cattle to drink.
Cattle to drink. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's all gone now. And the particular one I started fishing on was sort of a 5 minute walk past the end of the road. The estate where we lived was like incomplete, and the road just sort of finished with a pile of rubble at the end.
Oh,
And
right.
you could walk 50 yards up to the end of the road, then across a field, and you'd come to the pond. And I must have been about maybe 7 years old, 7 or 8, something like that. And my dad finally caved in to the pressure and the sheer mither of me wanting to go fishing. I was very keen
Brilliant.
on sort of nature. I used to read books about birds and fish and amphibians and stuff, and
Yeah.
just that underwater world seemed to be like a sort of parallel universe that was so mysterious.
Yeah.
That's probably what started it, and
Yeah.
he eventually succumbed to pressure from both me and my mum. Oh, for God's sake, take him fishing. And he bought a couple of books, which is typical of my dad. Buys the
Yeah.
textbooks first, and we went to a place in Wigan, which I doubt very much is there now. Tackle shop, got kitted up with some stuff, and he hadn't got a clue what we were doing.
Mm.
Fair crack to him,
Just
it
yeah.
was all about sort of keeping me happy. I don't think he had any particular interest in fishing, and went fishing at this little pond. Um, and I think my first fish was a crucian carp of all things,
Wow.
because
That's
every
good.
farm pond had a couple of shoals of crucian carp in. Nothing big,
Yeah.
what we call pasties, the sort of fish one was
Yeah.
the size of your hand,
Yeah.
mostly sort of 2 or 3 ounces.
Yeah.
Quite tricky little
Great fish.
lighters, they'd sort of bob your float and give you a run around. You'd miss 90 bites for every one that you actually connected
Yeah.
with. And that was it. A crucian carp, and it had a few perch in as well. If you put a worm on,
Fantastic.
you probably catch a perch. And that was where it started. This pond was
Brilliant.
full of kids during the school holidays. You go up there on a Saturday, and there'd be sort of two crammed into every peg, and there was only about four pegs. And there'd even
Yeah.
be kids like waiting on the top of the bank for somebody to pack in and then get down to this peg,
Wow.
which is just
Blimey.
unthinkable these days, isn't it? This is
It
like
is.
1960s.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was sort of a kid's pond, and me and my mates sort of tried a few different places, and there was 2 or 3 ponds,
Mm.
um, not quite as good, or maybe we just didn't know them quite as well. And one
Fantastic.
particular one on the A6, where you had to go across a farmer's field and trespass to get to it. But that was a big attraction because there was roach in there, which was quite a
Ah,
novelty.
right.
Not for everybody else in the
Fantastic.
country, but
No, that's it
those
usually.
roach
Roach your
quite
perch,
something,
isn't it, your first fish?
and even to this day, that sort of bright silver fish in the palm of your hand, with the sort of red fins and that
Yeah.
lovely eye, it's
Magical.
yeah, and depending on which angle of light you hold them to, there's sort of an iridescent blue or a sort of
Blue
bronze or
sheen,
a bit of
yeah.
a gold sheen.
Yeah.
So I've always been fascinated with roach since then,
Ah. And have you fished
which is
all
odd for a
since
fly
then
fisherman, isn't
onward?
it?
Well, yeah, we'll chat about your fly fishing in a bit. But so did you what sort of fishing did you do from then on then? Did you carry on
I
fishing
think we
from that point all
graduated
your life, or did
to
you have
a
a
Wigan
break?
and District Angling Association season ticket,
Okay. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we fished at Burkacre Lodges, which, ironically
Okay.
enough, is now a glorious sort of country park with 2 lakes. Then
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was a scrap yard with some dodgy sort of tyre dealers and things. It was an old broken down mill,
Ah.
and it was a pretty ugly place. But it was on the ticket, and we
Mm.
used to go up there, and of course the canal at Adlington.
Yeah.
Um, and we sort of graduated to there. So we got gudgeon in the canal, which again I've not
They've
seen
gone,
for
haven't they?
years
Have
and
they?
years and years.
Same.
Yeah,
It's weird that, isn't it? Yeah,
and
we used to catch nets
the
in
odd
them.
roach, the odd perch, this sort of thing. And every sort of now and again you'd turn up a decent bream, which was quite an event.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I think
Fantastic.
Burkacre used to be full of rudd, the small pond at Burkacre. That's changed now. I've never not seen any rudd there. I've started fishing there again now, which
Have
you'll
you?
probably see on
Ah.
one or two of the course fishing items on my channel.
Ah, right. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't recognise where they are because I have got the Wigan ticket this year, and I want to sort
yeah.
of explore a few of but I don't recognise him yet. So I hear it's good. Some tension, big tension,
There's
right?
some
Is there
big
as well?
tension, yeah.
Yeah,
There's tension in the little pond, but they're a bit more elusive.
yeah.
There's more and bigger in the big pond. Um,
Right. Mm.
the big pond tends to get very, very busy with sort of walkers and dogs and kids and
Mm.
whatnot, especially at weekends. The small pond, although there's a path around it, seems a little bit quieter, and it's more
Right.
suited to my kind of sort of margin float fishing because
Yeah.
you've got lily pads everywhere. Nice place, really.
Fantastic. Yeah, because I know you use your centre pins quite a bit
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
good heavens, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's funny how that circle's come round because the reels we used to
Yeah.
have, it might be, I don't know whether it's before your time or not, but used to have these little Woolworth centre pins, but they weren't proper centre pins, as in your free running centre pin. It was
Right,
just
right,
like
right.
a fixed ratchet that sounded
Ah.
like a sort of jackdaw in the front.
Oh,
A
God.
jackdaw being strangled or something.
Brilliant, brilliant.
Terrible
Good old
sort of
Woolworths.
click on this ratchet, and we used to have those and little solid glass rods.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
graduated to hollow glass 11-foot float rod, and
Brilliant.
yeah, it sort of went from there really.
Yeah. And you've got your so have you got is it a Speedia? Is it a,
No,
JW
I've not got any
you've got?
classic centre pins. That's
I mean, right, I thought you could.
I'm going to do in future.
Mm.
It's what's it? Strike Right, the one I use most of the time, and it seems to be the
Okay,
best
yeah.
one actually. And it's not a
Yeah.
particularly renowned brand. I don't think they were particularly expensive back in the day. And I picked one
Mm.
up for I think it's 15 or 20 quid. I can't remember. Wasn't very
That's
much
good.
from the Prince Albert Tackle Fair
Oh,
last
right, yeah,
year.
the annual
And the
one,
problem,
yeah.
I knew there was a problem with it because the ratchet didn't engage. It
Ah.
was just free running. It was a lovely free running spool, but there's no ratchet on it. And I thought,
Oh,
I'll take a risk here and see
yeah.
what I can do with this. And when I actually took it to bits and had a look at the ratchet, it was sort of very badly worn and almost round where it should have been sort of triangular on the corners. You've seen
Ah.
those things inside a reel.
Yeah, yeah.
The fly reels are the same. They have that.
And did you fix it?
Well, I made another ratchet plate. I've
Did
got a
you?
YouTube video out of it, which
Oh, cool.
absolutely bombed. Boring as
Specialist.
hell.
Specialist, that, isn't it, really? Yeah.
Yeah, old people in the sheds. Yeah, I did make a ratchet plate for it, and quite chuffed with it. I got it working really nicely.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's great fun. Centre pins,
Yeah,
fishing with
yeah.
centre pins,
They're
fantastic,
not the
isn't it?
most
Yeah.
practical thing, but I don't know.
No.
I've just never gone back to a fixed spool reel now for coarse fishing.
Right,
Um,
yeah.
there's just something about when you hook a good fish like a tench or a carp or something, which doesn't happen very often, but a good strong fish, say a river chub,
Yeah, yeah.
it goes powering off, and it's just you can feel everything in your fingers. It's a bit like fly
You
fishing,
can.
so like a
Yeah,
fly reel
yeah.
where your break is like your thumb, on the rim.
Your thumb, yeah.
And
Super.
it's just that direct contact. And I think it's the same thing with fly fishing. It's pulling a fly across in the darkness
Yeah.
across a river, and all of a sudden that line that you gather in your fingers suddenly gets snatched out your
Suddenly
fingers.
yeah,
By some
yeah.
unseen force 20 yards away.
So when talking about fly fishing
Tactile.
then, because obviously you're a big fly angler now.
Yeah.
When did you get involved with start fly fishing? Was that
Right.
something you've
Well,
done all your life pretty
the
much, or
course
where did that
fishing
start?
went onto rivers. I think we went to the River Wye in my teens. It'd be the Wire and the Ribble, and we graduated to sort of chub. There weren't any barbel in the
Yeah.
Ribble then,
No.
and dace. And then a pal of mine took me fly fishing. I never had a lesson as such. I got sort of an hour or two with my mate who showed me the rudiments of the casting, how to
Yep.
extend the line, how to false cast, and don't take your rod back behind 12 o'clock and all this.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I sort of took it from there on my own. If I had a
Right.
casting lesson now, the guy would probably be absolutely horrified, with all the bad habits of
Same with
over the
mine,
years.
same with mine.
You're self-taught too, aren't you?
I
Yeah.
am, yeah, you can probably tell, yeah. You know, getting
Well,
more tangles
what the
and
hell if you can
it's stuck
catch
in
fish?
trees, but it's great.
Yeah. What if you can catch fish? In a
Yeah.
variety of different settings and keep yourself amused. That's what it's about, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I love it. I love fly
Technique.
fishing. I've literally fallen in love with it. I've done it for about the last 3 years, and it obviously I spend a lot of time on the river, and then it was just a natural extension staying on the river fishing for trout, but fly fishing. But
Well, I think
I love it.
back
Absolutely love
in
it.
back in those days, I mean, you had trout reservoirs, which were extremely difficult. Again, a huge expanse of water, and where do you start?
Mm,
What do you do?
yeah.
We had river fishing, obviously, and the odd time I go to the Ribble at the caravan site at Clitheroe, Edisford
Oh yeah,
Bridge,
yeah.
which used to be quite a cheap day ticket from the cafe there. And that
Mm.
was a mixed fishery. It was sort of any method, but in the
Mm.
spring it was quite handy trout fishing. Quite
Mm.
you usually get a couple of trout, not very big. And when I couldn't get to a trout river, I used to fish the lower river down at near the Tickled Trout, that area,
Mm.
and I'd fish for days with a dry fly,
Yeah,
which is
good fun.
great fun,
It is. It is great fun, yeah.
especially when you're not expecting it. You hook into a 3 pound chub.
Yeah. I had a similar yeah, I had the same. I was on a stretch last year I saw these tiny sort of dimples, and I put a tiny little gnat on,
Mm.
and about £3 chub that were
Yeah,
just it blew my
bizarre,
mind
isn't
how
it?
these massive creatures were taking these tiny little flies off the surface. It's just unbelievable. So I was gonna ask you if for anybody who's, thinking about getting into fly fishing, perhaps
Mm.
don't know the first place to start, perhaps on small rivers and,
Yeah,
streams, what sort of advice would you give them in
I
terms of
wouldn't start
if you hit to
on a very small river because they tend to be very
okay.
overgrown, and it's although you're not using distance casting, it's very difficult. A lot of accuracy
Yep.
and a lot of unorthodox casts, which you have to sort of make
Yeah.
up yourself. Um,
Yeah.
a medium-sized river, I wouldn't say go on the lower ribble straight away because you find it a bit daunting the
Mm.
sheer broad sort of span in front of you. But
Yeah.
a smaller river like the Darwin or the Calder, or something like that, Irwell,
Yep. Yep.
those are all nice sized river, and you can cover from bank to bank. You don't have to have sort of trees right behind you. You can, make yourself a bit of space. So medium sized
Mm.
river, and maybe start off fishing across and downstream with wet flies.
Okay, so do you wanna explain what that means then?
Right,
So
yeah.
just for the people who don't
Um,
understand.
right, it's traditional Yorkshire fly fishing, really, where they would have these what they call spider patterns, very, very sparse little flies, 14s, 16s,
Mm.
and it'd just be a little bit of wisp of thread round a hook and a few fragments of hackle. I've started doing them myself. It
Mm.
sort of fell out of favour in recent years with all the development in nymphs and bugs. But
Yeah.
I'm going to try and do a bit more with spiders. And the beauty of it is they're very quick. If you're sort of new to making your own fly, they're very simple and quick to tie, and they
Mm.
are quite effective. Again, just sparse, simple little things.
Yeah.
Now, that's traditional wet fly where you cast maybe 45 degrees down across the current, and all you
Okay.
do is let the current bring your line round, swing down until it's right downstream of you. Then you'll
Mm.
shuffle on. Excuse me. You shuffle on if you're wading in the river, or shuffle across on your knees if you're on the bank. Just move down maybe a meter. Same process. 45 degrees down. Let it swing round. That's in the simplest terms. There's a little bit
Yeah.
more to it. You can find conflicting currents make it not quite so simple.
Yeah, yeah.
And obviously the speed of the current in front of you, if it's a slow pool, you could probably cast a bit more square across. But the
Right, yeah.
current's just putting that little bit of motion into the flies as they swing round. And if you put out sort of a crumpled cast that lands in a bit of a pile, the current will straighten it out for you. That's why it's good for beginners.
Mm.
And you
Right,
will
right, right.
get pulls and you will get tugs, but
Yeah,
a lot of the time it's little fish because
yeah,
the bigger fish are a little bit. They've been caught a couple of times or hooked and lost, and they're a little
yeah.
bit more streetwise about the presentation. They know that the nymphs don't actually swim in that sort of downstream and across fashion,
Cross current, yeah.
or swim actually
Mm.
against the current when it comes right down
Yeah.
to the what we call the dangle. That's the point where it's
Mm.
directly downstream.
A dangle.
Yeah,
Ooh.
hooked on the
I didn't
dangle.
heard of that.
Terrible for losing fish. The ones that hooked on
Right.
the tank.
Mm.
So yeah, that's where I'd start with the wet fly. You can do it with the floating
Yeah,
line, which is the simplest. Maybe
okay.
I'd put out of a 2 or 3 fly cast, I'd probably put a little bit of a heavy nymph on the end just to take it down in the water a little bit. And
Yeah,
obviously, you get takes on the nymph as well as the wet fly. The nymph is
yeah.
a more specific imitation of the actual underwater stage of the insect. The wet flies are more sort of suggestive. It could be anything. It could be a drone fly. It could be a
Yep.
nymph ready to hatch, coming up to the top. It could be a fly that's hatched, mated, and dropped down, sort of dying onto the water and then got washed
Yeah.
under. So
Yeah.
the wet flies are more suggestive. And
Yeah.
you could also try something I've been doing recently is the streamer lure, which again quite
Okay.
simple, uh, and sometimes very effective, sometimes not. But again, when the river's flowing quite full and with a bit of colour across and down, but this time you actually move
Mm.
it, you sort of strip a few pulls back as it's coming round,
Okay. Yeah.
and just hang on for grim death, because when you get a pull, it's a really hard pull. Generally, it's an aggressive predatory trout chasing what he thinks is a little fish. The streamers are
Right.
bigger
Right.
flies. They're tied on sort of, I don't know, tens, eights, sixes, fours,
Mm.
and anything up to sort of 3 or 4 inches long. So it's more
Okay.
suggestive
Yeah.
of like a minnow or a bullhead or a stone
Yeah.
loach or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And the bigger, certainly, yeah, my experience of that, the bigger trout,
It
yeah,
does
the
tend to spawn out the
carnivorous,
bigger
aren't they,
trout
tend to be.
in a small
Mm.
stream like, well, like the one across the road from me, where
Yeah.
a lot of the fish are sort of, I don't know, maybe 4 to 7 inches long on average. If you're going to
Mm.
get sort of a 10 or 11 incher, it's generally on the streamer.
Mm. Yeah, so it's more akin to lure
It
fishing
is lure
approach.
fishing, yeah. It's the
Yeah,
same.
lure. Yeah.
There's no difference between that and the sort of reservoir lures, the dog
Yeah.
nobblers and frog nobblers and what have you.
Yeah. Boobies
Um,
and whatever.
yeah, it's basically the
Yeah.
same thing. It's a weighted fly
Yeah.
that sort of sinks
Yeah.
fairly quickly, and you pull it back in jerks.
Yeah.
And
Brilliant.
and
And in
again,
terms,
it's
yeah.
not very far
Mm.
removed from jig fishing.
Hmm.
The sort of, the craze on lure fishing that I was talking about.
Yeah, with soft plastics and things,
Yeah,
yeah.
those soft plastics, it's a very similar action in the water. If you look at a fly made out of marabou and a sort of a little soft plastic shad, the action's very
Mm.
similar.
Mm.
And again, it's that sort of sinking and, that sort of fluttering down,
Fluttering
right,
down,
and then
yeah.
suddenly darting off. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
it's that action that
So
drives predators wild, whether it's perch, trout, pike. They've all got the sort of same predatory instinct.
yeah,
And the
'cause I know
streamers
you've
on
done
my
some.
river also do
Yeah,
quite well for
yeah.
perch. By the way, you get a lot of unexpected perch.
Yeah, and on the canals, I
Yeah,
know you fished on the canal like I have as
I've
well,
tried it
we
on the
caught a lot.
canal.
Is it?
Last year was completely full of that. What we used to call as kids Jenny green teeth.
Oh, horrible.
Yeah, yeah. What's
Floating
it called?
floating weed.
Duckweed, isn't it?
I think it is, yeah, it's
I
got
was
small
talking
leaves,
to
but it blankets
I was
everything,
talking to an
doesn't it?
old geezer up there who's lived in the area longer than me, and he said it sort of comes up every sort of 5 years or so, and then
Ah,
mysteriously disappears again. I don't think it's anything
right.
to do with the warmth or whatever. It might have been the dampness last year, but
Hmm.
yeah, the canal's absolutely it's still choked with it actually in places.
Is it over
Yeah,
your
it's,
way?
it's
Yeah,
never gone over winter. The winter's been so
blimey.
mild that
Yeah, well, I know it's cleared
it's
over
just
our way, but
never.
there were times
Has it?
it just blocked the whole thing up. Yeah, it just covered it. You'd be on there's a few fish, and then that's it. It'd drift over, and you'd be game over. So, and same with the Lancaster Canal
Yeah.
as well. I went up there, and same. It must sort of be spreading. It's yeah, not good, not good. But hey, also, and just going back to the fly fishing side,
Mhm.
in terms of the rods, just for people who don't understand, the sort of weight of the line and the rod.
It's a
What
bit like,
as a beginner?
if you can compare it with a test curve of
Yeah.
sort of a ledger rod or a swim feeder rod. Do ledger rods exist anymore? Are they all swim feeder rods?
Well, yeah, feeder rods, bomb rods, aren't they? Yeah, they
What
changed
I
the
know
names.
is
Like,
a ledger rod. I'd have a test
yeah,
curve, 1 pound, one and a half
yeah,
pound, whatever.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
what's called an AFTM rating, which is
Okay, yeah.
usually shown as, or what do you call it? I'm looking at the keyboard now. That sort of gate sign, hashtag.
Oh,
Yeah,
hashtag,
it's like
yeah,
a sort of
yeah,
hashtag sign and a
yeah,
number.
yeah.
It starts at naught, which is an extremely sort of flimsy, very thin rod. I don't bother with anything that light. Mine starts off at 3,
Yep.
which is a little 7'3" weight or AFTM 3 rating, and that I use for the little rivers and brooks.
Mm,
Um, the tippet, which is equivalent in coarse fishing language to a hook length, is
okay.
down to sort of 2.5 or 3 pounds for that. suits that
Yeah.
quite nicely. And
Yep.
then
Yep.
for the bigger rivers, but also for delicate dry fly stuff and spiders, I have a 10 foot, which also takes the same line. I can swap the line over and use it on that reel. Well, just swap the
Right.
reel
Right.
over.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
use that as a 10 foot, which is great. You've got that little bit of extra reach, and
Yeah.
it's just a lovely, soft, sort of easy action to fish with.
Yeah.
However, if you want to go on to streamers and things like fishing for sea trout at night with big, heavy flies, or even sort of single handed salmon on some of the Scottish West Coast rivers, you need something a bit bigger.
Hmm.
I think the next setup I've got from that is a 5 to 6. Which you could fish and in some dry flies with it, but it's not quite as, it's a little bit more sort of brutal, really.
Hmm.
Better for distance casting, and obviously use a heavier line with it. And I might also use an intermediate line, which intermediate means slow sinking.
Okay. Yep.
And furthermore, I don't know if you've heard of a sink tip line where most of it floats and then the last 10 feet of it sinks.
Think. Yep.
I use an intermediate with a fast sinking poly leader, which is
Oh, blimey.
basically it. All that is, it's a detachable sink tip. They cost about a
Right. Right.
fiver, and
Okay.
I love them.
Yep.
I've got a
Yeah.
heavy one for the pike fly setup, and I've got a light one,
Yeah.
oh, well, lighter for
Yep.
the sort of 5 to 6 weight for streamer fishing, and also for fly fishing for sea trout at night, where you
Ah.
want to get that fly under the water, and dig
Yeah.
in a bit, as they call it. Especially
Yep.
often last year, a lot of the time in the summer, we had quite heavy water in the rivers too. So
Hmm.
again, something that digs in instead of skating
Yeah.
around across the surface.
Right.
Like I say,
Brilliant.
fast sinking poly leader. And then
Okay.
I've got the big guns. It's a 10 foot reservoir lure rod, which is
Hmm.
rated 8 to 9, and
Right.
that
Yep.
is the one I use for pike on the canals and still waters
Ah.
rivers.
Okay.
A lot
Yeah.
of specialist pike anglers use maybe a 10 weight, but for a single hander, that's getting really hard to.
Heavy that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's hard on your wrist.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
quite lightweight, it's the
Yeah.
line and the reel and everything. So yeah, I've got that 9 weight, which I used to use also for single-handed salmon fishing on small rivers with the fly.
Hmm.
Um,
Very good.
Hard work
Yeah.
all
That's well.
day
That's
with that
good.
one though. And then
Yeah.
something I haven't used for donkey's years, double-handed salmon rod, 14
Oh,
foot,
blimey.
9 to
Yeah.
10 weight.
14
Yeah,
feet. Oof.
but it's
Blimey. Yeah.
double-handed, so
Yeah.
it's a different
Ah.
technique of casting, and 14 feet is quite short, really, for a double-handed spare rod.
Is it? Oh.
Yeah, they go up to sort of
So it's
17
the
feet.
spear casting. I've never even.
Yeah,
I've seen videos, but I've never even attempted it really. But
yeah, I'm
yeah.
absolutely
I think.
useless at it, which is perhaps the reason I don't fish the sort of classic salmon rivers. Apart
Yeah.
from also not having the patience for it, because I mean, even in the 80s when it was the so-called good old days,
Mm.
um, salmon fishing, you go out there and you start off in the morning and there'll be big fish crashing all around, the run coming through, and you could still go all day without a touch. Or
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
people who pay several £1,000s for a beat in Scotland and still come home
Yeah.
blank, and then do it again the year
Yeah.
after. Not for me, no.
Not for me either. No. Oh, grief. No, I want to catch fish now and again. But
Which is why
yeah,
it
the
ends
funny
up being
thing.
trout and roach.
Yeah, yeah, that's good sport. Well, I think the brown trout on a sort of a bit of running water is I absolutely love it. I love it. I like the fact that you're not carrying all the gear because
Yeah,
for the rest of the year
yeah,
you're carrying lots of weight usually and humping it around. Whereas you can put a little waistcoat on, a little net and your rod, and you can explore and just have a lovely day, can't you? Just pottering about. I absolutely
yeah.
adore it.
Apart from all
It's,
the camera stuff.
well, yeah, that if we yeah, for the YouTube stuff, that's the other thing, yeah. The people don't realise, do you? You've gotta lug all that crap
I've got
round with you
that
as
down
well.
now though. I've got a little selfie stick which I
Yeah.
can push into an old piece of plastic drain pipe, which has a wedge
Oh.
cut on the end. I can stick that in the soil, flip my phone
Ah.
into the selfie stick, and do me sort of background shots with that.
Yeah.
And then obviously the little chest camera in the harness
Yeah.
takes up hardly any space. So you
Yeah.
know, I
Yeah.
did I did get a
Yeah.
Sony sort of camcorder as well, and I've got a
Ah.
tripod for it and everything. But you just end
Just
up
carrying it.
thinking, "Oh my god, I don't want to carry all this lot around."
No, no. You're right, and then the other things I found is, like, I got a couple of them little Acassos, one of that, and I had my phone that I'd do it with, and I got another phone, another, camera as well, and then it's uploading all the footage after, isn't it? You got, like, 4 files, 4 cameras with different files, and it's like,
Yeah,
"Oh, where do I begin editing this?"
yeah.
It's so simple the better, I
Well,
think. It's
it used to end up. Well, I'm saying used to. I'm just having a couple of weeks off the YouTube now. I've hit the 1,000. I don't seem to
yeah.
have that
Hurrah!
motivation for another target now. But
Yeah.
what I generally do after I've been fishing, I've got, like I say, some of the footage is on the phone, some of it's on the Acaso,
Mm,
and I'll spend the evening, probably damn near as long as I've spent fishing, just downloading it. That's not
yeah.
making the video. That's just filing it.
Just yep, yeah. It's mind-blowing when
Yeah.
you start, isn't it? It really is for anybody who's thinking about YouTube fishing videos. It's, yeah, keep it
I think a
simple.
lot of people just discard the files after they've done with them, but I tend to keep it all.
Well, I had to buy a new computer because
Yeah,
my
you and me,
I
yeah.
did because, because the editing software I had, it
Yeah,
was an old it was probably about 8 or 9 years old, the computer,
yeah.
but it just ground to a halt with a simple editing. I thought, "Oh," so I ended up buying a new
I had
computer. I just
an 8 gig one, and that was, oh, it was just pushing it to its limits, and
yeah.
you're uploading a file and you couldn't really see it. It was just a sort of staggered blur.
Yeah. It's difficult,
Yeah.
yeah. So you're having a break from YouTube, but then what other
I'm
plans have
not
you
having a
got
break
then
from
for the
fishing,
coming year?
hopefully.
No, no, but YouTube,
No,
are
I'll carry on doing
you
the YouTube. I've got a few ideas
yeah,
in the
yeah,
pipeline, but I just a break from bloody sitting there editing every evening. And then you decide you're going
yeah,
to do one, and it takes you like a best part of a week of sort of every evening putting it all together. And of course, I'm trying to do my own music with them, so that's another passion.
yeah, yeah, you're a musician as well
Yeah,
because you
it's
do the
another
the tra
boss
the
I don't
soundtracks
need
and
really. Where well, I can't
yeah,
keep recycling all the old stuff. I have to do some new stuff for this.
yeah, that's good. Well, it's a big creative
Well,
project, isn't it,
Sole
that?
Trader, which is an odd name for a fishing channel, wasn't a fishing channel. It was for my band and
Ah,
sort of music promotion.
ah,
Which you'll probably it's a bit strange. The channel actually dates back to 2016. The reason for that is
right.
we had a pub gig which was sort of televised by the
Mm.
drummer he used to work for the BBC, and
Oh,
he had his friend come down and sort of record everything with professional cameras, and it was professionally mixed and edited too.
oh,
So that was a
right.
great coup, really. It still only had about
Yeah.
300 views. But
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
that was it, and then nothing
That's a
happened
start, was it?
until
Yeah.
lockdown.
Oh,
And the
right, is that when it
second and the
started?
second issue I put out was nothing to do with fishing. It was a
Oh.
tribute song. I wrote a song. I mean, there's nothing to do. Couldn't get the house any.
Oh, about the
Yeah,
NHS. I
couldn't get
think it
the house any
yeah, I saw it.
cleaner. What am I? I'll do a tribute song for the NHS. I must feel
Yeah,
terrible for them. What they got to go through and everything. And
yeah.
so I did that for want of something else to do.
Yeah.
Put that out, and again that seemed to flop as well.
Oh.
Um,
It's the algorithm. It's the
Yeah,
algorithm, you
yeah, the
see.
algorithm didn't like
Algorithm.
it. So
Yeah.
after
So are you
that,
still gigging? Are you still
we had,
gigging or
we
are
had
you still
no, no,
in
no.
your
We
band?
had
No.
lockdown, and
Yep.
then I decided I'd start filming the fishing. And it started from there, really.
Great stuff.
No, the band, it sort of fizzled out. When you got a load of 60-odd-year-olds together, it's just surprising how lazy they get. And
Mm.
oh, just trying to arrange a rehearsal was ridiculous, and it was
Oh.
supposed to be a police tribute band.
Oh,
The
right.
police is quite complex music. It takes a lot
Yeah,
of
sorry.
putting together, a lot of rehearsal. It's not like a sort of blues
Mm.
jam.
Yeah.
And it it just sort of
Just
fizzled
doesn't
out.
happen.
And to
Yeah.
be honest, I'm sort of glad the other two lost interest because I probably would have done it at some stage.
Yeah, can
And
blame
I'm
them.
dead happy with what I'm doing now anyway, and it
Yeah, yeah.
keeps me going with the music because I wouldn't like to sort of let it go. if you don't play
Yeah.
guitar for 3 weeks and then suddenly come back to it, your fingers are stiff as hell and
That's it.
really
Yeah.
disappointed by what how it sounds. You can't put anything together.
Yeah.
Your time.
I'm hopeless. I have no musical bone in my body. I cannot play any. The only thing
Go
that
on,
I swear
sensible.
to God, the only thing I've ever played was I was about 6 years old. It was the triangle. They gave me the triangle at school,
Well,
and that was it.
don't knock yourself down,
They
Mark.
wouldn't trust me with anything else.
Every orchestra needs a triangle.
Oh, I feel
It's
better.
critical timing, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, but I got that wrong. I went like doing doing at the wrong time. It once was an ugly duckling, doing doing with feathers of earth, doing doing, and I'm like, oh, too many doings. Anyway, mate. Well, look, I know blimey, we've been rabbiting for sort of 40 minutes. So listen, got to say thank you
That's all right.
for sort of coming on and
Very much
having a chat,
appreciate it.
and we'll. It's been
Oh, look
really
what came
useful,
through the
really interesting.
post.
Oh, bless you. I'm not paying these people, folks, honestly.
There you go,
Oh,
folks.
thanks for buying
The
it.
ultimate guide to canal fishing by our
I'll
friend
edit
here.
that out later. Thank you. We'll have to go canal fishing. I'll take you on some of them pegs. We'll
Yeah,
catch a few
yeah,
tench.
definitely, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nice one.
I'm gonna. I'll just mention that I'm hoping to be doing a bit of a thing with Mark, you folks out there, and it's going to be the other way around. I'm going to interview him, and I'm going
Fantastic.
to find out what his secret is to all this sort of bagging up and his sort of 40-pound nets a dace and all this thing. When I get like a dozen, then I'm chuffed with myself.
Oh,
So,
just lucky I am. But yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it.
so
We'll
watch this
definitely look
space. That's
forward to
going to
it.
be a forthcoming Soul Trader wild fishing and music video quite soon.
Fantastic. Great advert, mate. Great. Well, listen, thank you very, very much for
And
coming
thank
on.
you, Mark. It's been a
I
pleasure.
really appreciate it. It's been really good to catch up and have a chat. And yeah, we'll see each other on the bank
Definitely, yeah.
sometime. Yeah. All
Look
right, mate.
forward
Well,
to
tight
it.
lines. We'll see you soon.
Okay.
All
Thanks
right.
very much,
Cheers, mate.
viewers.
Bye. Bye. Bye, everyone.